Hello, YouTube. It's time to talk about the Finns party, or perussuomalaiset, and how they're absolutely racist. They don't really have the best of the common folk at heart, so let's go on this fun little journey. And don't go away yet. I see you're typing, they're not racist, SJW. No. Listen, I'm going to show you some stuff. Then you can decide if they indeed are racist. Now let's get started, shall we? The Finns party, or as is known in Finnish, perussuomalaiset, which literally translated means the basic Finns or the normal Finns, are a political party in Finland that are best known for their nationalist, right-wing tendencies and rhetoric. So they often frame themselves as kind of fighting for the common people and, Finnish values and nationalism and all that stuff. So someone already asked in the chat, they used to be called the True Finns in English, but they're currently called the Finns. So this is something that they did very, very recently, just like today. So here, this is from I think it's from their Instagram. So this says, it's in Finnish, so I'll translate it for you. It says, you can get a nice apartment with a low income also in Helsinki. Helsinki is the capital of Finland, where the price of housing is the highest in the country. And then they say it's just that someone else lives in it. Let's change the power in cities. Hashtag take Finland back. So there's a lot to unpack here, folks. This is really bad. It's really bad. So here, let's break this down. Why is it bad? Okay, so they're implying that all of the apartments or the low income apartments that are nice are going to other people, which of course means foreigners. And usually when they talk about foreigners, they don't mean Russians, which are one of the highest demographics of immigrants in Finland. They usually mean brown people and black people. And they also insinuate, this is the last sentence saying, let's change the power in cities. They're also insinuating that cities are currently run by immigrants, which doesn't really make any sense. Because if you look at, politicians and political parties, there are very little immigrants in for example, in the government or in local municipalities governing. There's not that many immigrants. It's not like a widespread thing. And this is a very common, let's take Finland back. This is a kind of common narrative that you see on the alt-right and the far right, and even somewhat in the right, which is the Great Replacement theory, which is basically propaganda against immigrants, saying that immigrants are coming over and they're replacing the demographic of the white people in the country, which darker skin genes are more prevalent, so it goes to reason that those genes are going to proliferate. But it's done as a kind of scare as to if brown people become more prevalent, that means your culture and your country will go away, which of course is nonsense. And they were called out for the Nazi rhetoric. The party leader was like, lol, seems like you guys are the ones obsessed with Nazis. Yeah, I'll show you that. I'll show you that. Oh, the leader of the party is an absolute clown. So DM141, for those of you who don't know, probably the most prominent Finnish online leftist. Here we are. Yeah. So here someone is saying this person, I don't know who Janne Salakka is, but he's saying that, their rhetoric is closer to 1930s and 40s Nazi Germany. In the same way Nazis saw Jews as the root of all evil, and their rhetoric got harder and harder in stages. Like they didn't start with, let's put the Jews in the camps. That's not where they started. They had to start way lower, and then they just incrementally made it worse. And soon all of the societal problems were because of the Jews. And then Jussi Halla-aho, who is the chairman of the party currently, said, how does it feel if the 30s and 40s and Nazis are constantly in your mind? Do they also come into your dreams? Basically saying, like, you're the one who's just talking about this Nazi thing all the time. Like, there wouldn't be a problem with Nazis if you didn't talk about it all the time. Why do you have to bring up this Nazi stuff all the time? Like, if you didn't mention it, then it wouldn't be a problem. Like, why do you keep bringing it up? It's so weird. And this is the chairman of the party. And he's done a lot of similar shit. He's done a lot of similar shit in the past. He is like... let's find his Twitter. He is like really shit on Twitter. And of course, he is very heavily criticizing the current government because the Finns are in the opposition. So in Finnish politics, the way that it works is we have a multi-party system in Finland. So the government is the government is always a coalition of several parties, usually the parties that get the most votes and then some smaller parties. The current coalition is left-leaning, with SDP, which is the Finnish Democratic Party, being the biggest, the leading party in the coalition, with the Greens and the Left Alliance, such. So it's a left-leaning government, and it's been doing a lot of good things. Like, I'm really happy with where this government is going. It's not perfect, of course, but it's way better than what we had before. So the two big parties in the opposition are the Finns and the National Coalition Party, or Kokoomus, which is a neoliberal right-wing party that is very concerned with, driving the interests of businesses. Here we go. The Finnish passport is one of the most valuable travel documents. Still, you can get it by applying for asylum in Finland, and by being here for 4 years. To be integrated, it's enough to be a customer of Kela. Kela is the social security office in Finland that gives, housing support, medical benefits, all that kind of stuff. If you don't know how to read or write, you don't have to learn Finnish. And Hölmölä is like Dumbsville in Finnish, and it's like an old expression in Finnish, like that, a place where things are done in a very dumb way. So this is a very common thing that you see the true Finns and their party leader espouse, that, asylum seekers can just come here and then they're given everything. They don't have to do anything at all. Like, they can just roll up here, easy peasy. Then the government gives them money. The government gives them an apartment. They're living the life of luxury, while you, the common person, don't have enough healthcare, don't have enough, like, other stuff. It's because all the money is going into the immigrants. It's their fault. Like, recently, Jussi Halla-aho had a video about he's running for the mayor of Helsinki, because next year in Finland we have our regional elections. So there's the smallest, like the lowest level of government. Those elections are coming up, which is why I also want to talk about this party, and then that's why they're starting to speak more, because those elections are very close. It's next spring. So in that video, Jussi Halla-aho, it's in Finnish, so I'm not going to show it right now because I would have to do a lot of translation work. But in essence, he says that the rising housing prices in Helsinki is because immigrants are, because there's many immigrants. It's their fault. Because there are many immigrants, the prices of housing is going up. However, the Finns were part of the previous government, the majority coalition, and they struck down a proposition to build more affordable housing into Helsinki. So they're saying the housing prices are going up because we're letting in too many immigrants. But at the same time, they're saying we won't build more affordable housing. Like, what are you going to do? Like, okay, because someone might say, like, okay, well, let's just not take in immigrants and then that will solve the problem, right? No. Like, what are you going to do with the other immigrants who have come and integrated and are living in Finland? Like, that's the part they don't talk about, but they imply a lot of really dangerous things because there are already immigrants and asylum seekers in Finland. What do you do to those people? Are you going to kick them out forcefully? That's not very, very cool, my dude. Like, what are you going to do to those people, Whatever it is that you want to do to those people, it's getting into some Nazi shit. Do you understand? So they will very often say, immigrants are the problem if we just don't take in immigrants. So this is the thing that they were running with in 2015, 2016, when we had a big influx of asylum seekers from Iran, I think, and so there was a bigger influx, and there was a big scare that, can the Finnish system handle this influx of immigrants? Sweden took a lot more than Finland, for example, or the other Nordics. And there was a big scare about it, and they were running with this slogan called, close the borders, close the borders. That was their big thing back then. They don't run anymore with the close the borders thing. Now they've shifted to, the immigrants are here and we need to take things back. Here we are. So this is Li Andersson. She is the leader of the Left Alliance, which is currently in the majority coalition in Finland. So she's talking about, because they're currently working on the new budget, and the opposition, as is supposed to, they're supposed to present a alternative to the budget that is proposed by the majority coalition. This is like normal stuff. But what they presented is really laughable, because the Finns have been criticizing the budget, that it's going to lead Finland into ruin, that it's going to bankrupt the country because we're taking way too much debt. Well, here's the plan that they had. So this is in Finnish. I'm going to translate it for you. So the Finns would shrink the deficit by 72 million euros from 11.7 billion euros, which is 0.6%. But yeah, they're crying about, we're spending too much money. No worries, Lottie. We're spending too much money. The government is spending too much money. We need to cut. We're going into a huge deficit. Like, we can't survive. And then they give a proposal that is 0.6% smaller. Like, that's ridiculous. That's like you looking at your friend's budget for the month and saying, like, dude, you can't be spending all of this money on frivolous things. You have to save money, otherwise, you can't afford to live in this place. And he's like, what should I save? Don't buy one coffee. It's a not the best analogy, but you understand, like, the savings that they're proposing are so minuscule, are so absolutely minuscule that it won't make a difference on the grand scheme of things in the deficit. Like, it's really, really silly. There's some more things in their proposal. So the thing that the Finns want to cut from, alongside, preserving nature and stuff like that, is, of course, asylum seeking. So they want to cut 156 million euros from asylum seekers and from taking in asylum seekers. Although the proposed budget for this next year is 104.6 million euros. Tell me, how do you cut 156 million euros from 104.6 million euros? How does that work? How does that work? Like, how does that work? And oh, by the way, Kokoomus is also part of this. Well, not part of this one, but their proposal was also really, really bad. So Kokoomus, the National Coalition, wants to cut from, of course, from supporting the unemployment benefits and senior services, you know, all of those things that we really can cut from. And even then, like their cuts are like 300 million, which is still small. Let's have a fun little trip. Let's go to perussuomalaiset website. Where's like your like what your party is about? Give me that part. I just want to know what your party is about. Oh, here we go. All right. So these are the basic tenets of the party. So let's start off. So here we go. I'm going to translate this because they didn't have this in English. So politics. Like, see here what we want to change. So first one is good schools back, which implies there are good schools and there are bad schools. The improvement in the Finnish education level that has been growing for decades the slope has turned downwards, and the amount of people who have a university level degree has fallen. People in elementary school are doing worse. Vocational schools have great problems, and the attractiveness of high school is declining. So, a brief explanation: in Finland, you can, after 9th grade, which is when you turn 16, I think. So you're done with your like elementary school essentially. You can go to vocational school, which is like nursing, car mechanic, you know, that kind of practical work, or you can go to high school, which is like, it's just high school for 3 years or so. Yeah, those are the two options, but they're not mandatory. So, for example, the current government, Li Andersson, who we were just looking at tweets, she's the education minister, and she wants to make that level, like the vocational school or high school level education, mandatory, because it has been shown in some research that making it mandatory would overall make life better for everyone. Bring back the welfare state. The Finns members will gladly pay fair taxes as long as they are used fairly and smartly. The true Finns think that it's just that Finnish social policy is meant for Finnish people. I wonder what they mean by that. Finnish people. I wonder what they mean by that term. White people. Yeah, they mean white people. Next one. Encouraging Finland. Welfare requires work. You can only get tax income from work and entrepreneurship. The system's funding is in big trouble if we can't raise our employment level back up and increase the amount of payers in regards to people who get money, which that's very true, actually. Like, this is a very true problem, like a problem that Finland is running into. So a problem that we have in Finland, I'm not in Finland right now, but you get what I mean. The problem that is right now in Finland is that in the next 10 or so years, there's going to be a big chunk of people who are going to go in retirement. But there's about 1,000 less people from newer generations that are going to become working age. It was like 1,000 something. 100,000. Sorry, not 1,000. 100,000. something, less people. And that's a big problem. Like, having that big gap of less people working is a problem. And who is going to take care of that big block of aging people? That's also a big problem. Japan has the same issue as well, where people are not having kids, and because of that they have a big aging demographic, and who's going to take care of those people, and how are you going to get tax income if there are way less people working? That's a big issue. Finland is running into that same issue. One of the best ways to fight this is immigration, because you can get working age people at a fairly high rate here. Another option is to have a lot of kids, but it takes time, first of all, to have a kid and then grow them to be working age. And in our current economic situation, and in our current late stage capitalist life, people are not really as attracted to having kids anymore. Partially because we have to work, and we don't have as much buying power as our parents did at our age. Like buying a house, for example, 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, was a lot cheaper than for us now. So those types of things are a lot harder for us to do. And then the final point, which you already see is the negative: stop detrimental immigration. Let's see what they say. Immigration affects our daily life, and we spend a lot of money in it. As we already saw, it's not that much if we talk about just asylum seeking. It was like 100 million euros roughly from a $11 billion budget. It's not a huge amount. We spend a lot of money in it, taxpayers' money. It simply takes away from something else. It takes away from you, the Finnish people, the Finnish person. True Finns, as the Finns are Finland's only truly immigration critical party. So like they're critical of immigration. They're the only ones, and this is where they try to paint themselves as kind of like, we're the only ones who can do something about this or will do something about this, which is also a very populist way of speaking. You know, strongmen, like fascist strongmen, usually use this type of language, and it's a part of, like, if you remember when we went through Umberto Eco's Urfascism, it's part of Urfascism, or like one facet of fascism is that you are the only one who can solve this issue, that no one else can do it but you. And this is very much that type of rhetoric of like, we're the only party that understands the severity of this issue. So that's what the party, these are their 4 main pillars on their own website. Of course, if I click on them, they would elaborate a lot more, but I just wanted to show you this is what the party talks about openly. So the Finns say, like, they want to bring back the welfare state, but when they are in power, so in the previous government they were in power, they cut from education, they cut from unemployment, they made unemployment difficult with the aktiivimalli. That was their government. They were in power when those things happened. Like, they keep saying these, like, they want to bring good schools back, they want to bring the welfare state back, but then when we want to increase unemployment benefits or we want to increase education funding, they say no, that's wasteful spending. No, we need to keep the belt tight. And then they want to cut from we want to cut from immigration. And then it's like, that's 0.6% of the budget. How is that going to solve our budget deficit that you are so much crying about? Like, there's a clear disconnect from what you say you want to do and what you are actually doing. Like, what's up with that? So I think, like, it's clear that they keep saying that they're for the, average people, Finnish people, but then when you look at what they propose and what they do, they just want to get immigrants out and not take immigrants, but they don't want to fund social programs because that's because social programs are just where all the immigrants are. And of course, there are no Finnish people existing in social programs, surely, so we can't fund those programs. But we want to bring the welfare state back. But like, what do you want to do? If you want the deficit to be smaller, then give a good suggestion. A 0.6% decrease in the deficit is not going to do anything on like a national scale. Yeah, they're a frustrating party, and the annoying part is because, like, well, why are we talking about this party? Like, surely they're not popular. That's where you're wrong, kid. So this is the latest polls from Helsingin Sanomat, which is one of the biggest newspapers in Finland. According to their poll, SDP, which is the leading party in the coalition, Finnish Democratic Party, is the leading party in the gallops. The polls. But then, right second, the Finns, at almost 20% popularity, and they've stayed there since last time, and they've been hovering around this 20% popularity for a long, long time. Like, that's why I talk about the Finns, because the Finns are a very popular party, which is dangerous because of what they are espousing. They want to close the borders and then somehow get all the immigrants out. And there's not a lot of ways that you can get foreign people out of your country except by gathering them up and putting them in places against their will, or shipping them out of the country against their will. You see what I mean? You have to start doing some Nazi shit if you want to, or what the US is doing currently. Third is the National Coalition Party, Kokoomus. So these two parties, perussuomalaiset and Kokoomus, they're really good. They've historically worked together, but they bicker between each other a lot on at least on social media, which is really funny. At least I find it very, very fun to see them bicker amongst each other, because I'm like, haha, yes, fight, fight. That's why I want to talk about the true Finns and show how fucking racist they are, because they are very popular. Luckily, we don't have a government election for another 2.5 years, but we do have the regional elections coming up next year. The Finns are not popular in like the capital region. They're not popular at all. It's more the National Coalition Party that is popular there. But they are popular in rural regions, so you know. And one very good thing to see here is that SDP, the party that is leading the coalition, has remained at this popularity, which is very rare. So this is from the change over the last year. But yeah, so this is, like, you can see here, since the new government came into power, so this is like, actually this is where they had to reshuffle the government a little bit, and they were not popular. They've climbed up, SDP that is, and then remained fairly stable, which is very rare. Usually the government or the party that is in power, leading the coalition, loses popularity during their term. So this is really good. It shows that people are liking what the left-leaning government is doing, because they are actually taking coronavirus very seriously and handling it very well. They are putting more money into public education, healthcare, elderly care, all these things that we need. These are important things, but the Finns and the National Coalition Party would see these things gutted. So, yeah, there's hope, I think. So, to reiterate, the Finns claim that they want to help the common people and to fund social programs like healthcare and education, but then at the same time, they say no when those budgets are proposed to increase, because immigrants are bad, and they want immigrants away because immigrants cause all of the issues, where we don't really have any show for that, and the changes that they propose are not really helpful. So I don't think you should vote for them. There are other better parties that have actually your interests at heart. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please do like and subscribe down over there, and leave a comment also there. I check them, I read them, I answer them. And also, I stream on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 p.m. Central European Time. Link to that also down there. And hey, have a great day, won't you? I'll see you around.